All right. All right. So good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to wherever you are in the world today. Uh, Let me just point out that unfortunately our host tonight cannot make it, but however, let's just take a moment of silence to just remember those that we've lost during this pandemic. So, all right. All right. So now let me introduce myself. My name is Joseph Carey. Everyone knows me as Sly. I'm a community member of iCore BP and faculty of Altash University. So we have an exciting and informative show for you tonight. So our topic today is how to earn in NFTs. So NFTs have been around for a short time, but I think it's safe to say that it all started with crypto kitties a few years ago. From there, the NFT space has blossomed into this spectacular event. Now we have platforms that allow users to create, mint, and collect these NFT items. Now, what I want to do, along with our guest tonight, is we want to address the journey of how one can get started with NFTs and start earning from it. So tonight, I have Luis Buenaventura as our featured guest to help us understand this process. But first, let's get Luis in and have him introduce himself so we can start the discussion on how to earn in NFTs. So, hi, Luis.
Hey Sly, good evening. And as you say, good morning, good afternoon to everyone watching. I'm super happy to be here, super excited to be able to talk to you all. And yeah, let's get into it. I'm one of the world's earliest, I guess, examples of NFT artist. Back in 2017, there was no such term, so we were kind of one of the prototypal few, and we had no idea what we were getting into. And I'm very excited to kind of share that journey with all of you tonight.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, so let's first start off with just a brief introduction about yourself in terms of who you are, so that way the audience can know, who is Luis Buenaventura. So,
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So I live in the Philippines. I've been a techno entrepreneur since I was in my 20s. In 2014, I discovered Bitcoin. And, those are the types of discoveries that just change you forever, right? So my career basically changed directions from that point. In 2015, I started one of the country's first virtual currency exchanges or cryptocurrency exchanges. That's called BloomX. So I was one of the founders.
oh, nice.
And then in 2017, we received our license because there actually was a licensing framework now that we could actually comply with. So we are one of the few licensed cryptocurrency exchanges in the country. And yeah, we've been running it ever since 2015. So we're kind of one of the veterans in the space. My journey with NFTs kind of began in 2017 also. And we can talk in more detail about that later, but generally that's always been kind of a passion of mine because I went to art school. So I was not a programmer by training. I was a programmer because I enjoyed it and it became my job, but
Oh, okay.
I
So
didn't
you
go to
took your
school for it.
passion.
Yeah. So art was my actual kind of training. And, when NFTs came around, the whole NFT art craze began, I found kind of my two biggest passions, art and cryptography and cryptocurrencies, kind of like come together in a way that I never thought was really even possible. And so yeah, that's how I ended up kind of here on your show, talking to you guys. Yeah, so this is gonna be a fun little gig, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And so you mentioned that you started off being like I guess an art major. Am I correct by saying that
Yeah,
you started
yeah,
off with an
yep.
art major? So the question that I kind of want to know is like using your art skills, being an art major. Like, what was like the front door? What was that first step? Like, what got you into the NFT thing?
Yeah, sure. Okay. So, 2017, I was in San Francisco, and this was back in the time when they would still do these Bitcoin meetups that were kind of these small gatherings in bars. This particular one is one of the oldest running Bitcoin meetups in the world. It's El Rio, this bar in SF. And I was hanging out with some folks there that I didn't really know. They were just strangers, but everyone was very, very friendly back then because there were no rivalries. It was such a young kind of time in the industry. And I had already been doodling around a lot. I was posting it on Twitter. I was making these very, very simple doodles about Bitcoin. And, they saw it and they were like, hey, you know what? Why don't you contribute some of your work to this art collection thing that we're starting? It's a very experimental project. It's using this kind of style of Ethereum called ERC 721, which is basically the thing that later became known as NFTs. And the project was called Curio Cards.
Curio
And it was
cards.
actually the world's first example of an NFT art collection. Of course, none of us knew that at the time. At the time, we were all just kind of, just hanging out and kicking around ideas. This is like very, very normal, benign stuff. It was March of 2017 when I first met these guys. And so when we launched it, it was like a series of launches. The entire collection is 30 pieces of art from a whole bunch of different artists. As you can see, some of it's very, very, very simple, and some of it's pretty elaborate. If you scroll down, you'll see some of mine. All of mine are kind of the dog images. So there are like a couple
There
of
it
dog
is.
images over there. Yeah, so the dog kind of on the rocket ship.
Yeah,
And
that
then
one.
if you scroll above a little bit,
Oh, this
there's two more
17.
dogs. That one and then
Nice.
number 19. Um,
Ah,
so I did the three dog images there, and I did it with seven other artists. This entire collection has seven other artists, and guess what happened next? No one bought a single edition of the art that we sold. So this is in 2017. No one bought a single edition. The whole thing went kaput. Most of the artists just forgot about it. I actually didn't, I didn't hear from the organizers again
mm-hmm.
until this year, 4 years later, when it turns out that someone had dug up the old code that constituted the Curio Cards collection. And they realized, because it's still on the Ethereum blockchain, they realized that this is actually provably the world's first NFT art collection. And because of that, suddenly all of the editions got bought up. The artists suddenly became, kind of internet famous. If you look at kind of some of the prices there, if you look at my dog cards,
Yeah.
the one of those dog cards goes for like 8 Ethereum. That one's 6 Ethereum. So these are like pretty expensive pieces of work. That was going for 11, I think.
Yeah,
So
11.249.
yeah. So it's like $35,000
Wow, that is a
for
lot.
one. Yeah, for work that I did in 2017 and I actually forgot about.
You know,
So yeah,
it's funny. When we look at artists, okay,
yeah.
the longer they stay in like in their art, in their world, as time progresses on, their artwork gets kind of expensive. This kind of reflects that.
Yes, but like not in 4 years typically. Typically you're talking about like
Like
decades. I mean, if this was
traditional,
yeah, if
but
you're
in
yeah,
crypto
yeah,
space,
yeah.
it moves fast.
Yeah, very, very fast. Yeah, and way faster, way bigger than anything I've ever experienced and or probably ever will experience. So if you scroll up to kind of the top of this page, I think OpenSea actually tells you. Oh, maybe it doesn't on this page, but so OpenSea actually tells you how much trade volume this entire collection has done over kind of since the beginning of time, and I believe it's starting to hit nearly $100 million. So
Wow.
the amount of sales that this stuff is kind of generating since it was reintroduced this year has been bonkers. And like it was what's really interesting is that I never even knew who the other artists were until just this year, because it only became relevant this year. We all had to get together and decide what the hell to do about this project, right? Because none of us took it seriously in 2017. We were all just kind of kicking around some stuff, and now it's massive. I should mention that very, very importantly, that $100 million didn't go to the seven artists. What happened was that the market was buying up these cards, these each of these Curio card editions, and then they would resell it to someone else who thought it was worth even more than that, right? So it started quite low. It started at zero point 0.1 ETH, zero point 0.2 ETH, whatever, and then As the market got hotter and hotter, people would trade them, and they would start, kind of doubling or tripling the price at which they bought it originally. So, like when
Right.
my cards were starting to, go up in price, I thought that it was just gonna stop at 1 ETH, but it seems like it continues to go up right now. And like the most expensive one is 11. But like some of my other artist friends here, like we've got one here that goes for like 100 ETH, I think.
Okay, let me look for
Um,
that one. Holy
yeah, yeah,
crap, that's
yeah.
a
It's
lot.
one of the blue ones. The pink. Try 28. I think it's number. No, 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 not maybe not 28. We've got some very expensive ones here. Yeah, so
Oh,
26, 23 or like 60, 60 ETH,
that's
70 ETH.
70, 80,
Yeah,
110. No,
there you go.
249, number 29.
There you
Wow,
go.
that
Yeah,
is
number 29. There it is. Yep, yep, yep.
wow.
So we've got some pretty expensive pieces in this collection. So the artists themselves don't make, so if you bought, so number 29 is, that's Max's piece. That's one of my co-artists. He doesn't make 250 ETH when this gets sold. What he makes is, or what the entire group makes is 1% commission. So the artists continue to make 1% in royalties for as long as this collection exists. And that's all automatic. That's made automatic by the blockchain, which is wonderful, right? Because that means
Right.
that as long as your work is, kind of relevant to people, and as long as there are people who appreciate your work, you can still get trickle income from it. And yeah, so yeah, Max is pulling for most of the group actually with his $250, 250 ETH pieces. Like mine are like tiny compared to that.
But
So
still, you're
yeah,
you're, you're
yeah,
making
yeah,
some, some income when
yeah.
you.
The residual income is pretty good, especially because of where I live. I don't even live in a capital
Right.
city right now, so I live in the beach. So I was like, yeah, the cost of living out here is very, very low compared to Metro Manila. Yeah,
So
can't complain. Can't complain.
So compared to when you first started versus the platforms now, because it sounds like from the that platform where you started from didn't have the features that in this case OpenSea had, where it allowed to give you that residual income. Is that what
Right.
where you kind of banked on in terms of the whole NFT thing? Like
Well,
you,
yeah, because this project was so young, there
Mhm.
were no marketplaces. So Curio Cards itself had to be its own marketplace. Like you had to go to its website, you had to buy, or you had to use your Ethereum wallet to actually buy from the website.
right,
And 2017 predates MetaMask. So like there was a lot of stuff. There were a lot of these projects now that we all enjoy. It makes our lives a lot more convenient. They were not
right,
available back then, or they were not as popular back then because everything was so young and no one had actually figured this stuff out. So there were a lot of hurdles, and now it's a little bit easier, right? You log into OpenSea as long as you've got MetaMask and you've got some Ethereum in your MetaMask, you can start buying stuff as soon as you're ready, right?
right.
I mean, granted, it's for some people it's still challenging to actually buy Ethereum or whatever, but it's so much more convenient than how it was back in 2017. So yeah, I think that's kind of there's so many improvements since then, and you've got like OpenSea itself. This is an open marketplace. They did $3.4 billion in sales last month. So
Wow.
it's a massive amount of trade volume, and it's mostly just NFT collectibles or pieces of art like this. That's all that's being traded on OpenSea. So it's pretty phenomenal how big this industry has become.
Yeah, it has grown to such a big industry now because me personally, I started a little bit kind of like later in the game. I would say roughly around maybe 2019 with the whole NFT things, but it was on a different blockchain before I migrated over to Ethereum.
Hmm.
And I saw potential in it, and I'm like, huh, this
Yeah.
might grow to something big. Then I forgot about it. Then it grew to something big.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was a big lull between 2017
oh
and
yeah.
2019. There was a very long lull, and people kind of forgot about this stuff. Yep, that's definitely true.
Right. Now, in regards to, I believe OpenSea is more like an on-chain kind of NFT platform, but are there other like traditional, like maybe auctions or something that you're selling your curio cards on or something?
Right. So this Curio Cards thing, it's a 30-piece collection. Obviously, it's most valuable if you own the entire set. because that's
Right.
how collections work, right? And
Correct.
especially because like some, well, like one piece is like 250 ETH. That's a very difficult piece to currently acquire. So one of the people who managed to kind of bring the entire collection together, like he owns the entire set, he's actually auctioning it on Christie's. And Christie's is like, if you're not from the art world, you might not know the name, but they are a 450-year-old auction house. They like, if you have a Picasso that you want to sell, you sell it on Christie's.
That sounds
They're
450 years. I mean, are they
yeah,
like from Europe? Because I know the whole European area is more
yeah.
like
Well,
into artwork.
yeah. It's a UK based auction
That's
house.
why.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so like what was like the one of Leonardo da Vinci's work was bought by Bill Gates through a Christie's auction, for example. It
Wow.
was like $30 million sale because Bill Gates, right?
Right.
So yeah, so stuff like this. So I went to art school, right? And as when you're a young art student, you read about kind of these auction houses, you look at these painters' work, and you think, wow, this is cool. What a nice little fantasy if I ever saw my work in a place like this. And like I never thought that I'd ever see it here, right? So it's kind of a weird feeling to kind of do it so accidentally, do
Hmm.
it so unexpectedly with work that I thought had actually failed. Which goes to show that this cryptocurrency thing is just a very odd industry to be in, because sometimes you do work, no one pays attention to it, and then 4 years later, it comes back in a way that you just don't expect. And now suddenly I'm possibly one of the first Filipino artists on Christie's. Um, I know there's been at least one or two others, but like I'm pretty sure I'm the first Filipino crypto artist who's ever auctioned on Christie's. So yeah, so it's again I have nothing but gratitude for kind of where this journey has taken me, but it's also like I'm perplexed, right? Like I don't understand how it all happened. It just seems like a series of very random occurrences. Like I would not be on in this collection if I hadn't been drinking in that bar in SF in March of 2017 because I was too cheap to go, because the beer was free. If you go to those Bitcoin meetups, the beer was free back then because Coinbase was paying for it. So,
Oh, yeah.
so this was like way back, way back. And I was too cheap to buy my own drink, so that's why I went to the Bitcoin meetup, right? And so, like, who knows where these random occurrences will take you? Apparently, some of them will take you to Christie's.
No, no,
I didn't
I,
realize.
I totally agree, man. I totally agree with you. And I'm because you started out as an art major, eventually you got into tech, and now you're in the NFT space right now, and your collection just blew up after a few failed attempts, and now
Yeah,
it's just huge. And what's weird about how blockchain changes people's lives is that it kind of creates like a pivot point. Me,
yeah,
I come from the IT industry. For some reason, I'm switching over to more of the marketing side, which has nothing to do with IT. But
right.
the thing is, because I'm in the blockchain space, the marketing side part of me is making me shift from that industry to this industry. So I'm
Yeah,
noticing some kind of patterns going on, and this is an awesome story. And I
yeah.
think a
Thank
lot
you.
of our viewers here can take note from that. You don't have to be this specific degree holder.
Oh, for
Block,
sure.
right, because blockchain will accept everyone, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I think it does have this. It democratizes entry for a lot of people,
mm,
right? It's a new frontier. It's a new frontier. So it rewards people who are willing to take a couple of risks and just try stuff out. Don't be too sad on how you do certain things, because this is about reinvention, really. And if you're the kind of person who's comfortable kind of experimenting and using your time to just learn new things, blockchain, crypto, NFTs are the most rewarding space to be in right now, because the money is like baked into it in a way
mm,
that is not baked into kind of a lot of other industries. I mean, it literally is kind of money underneath it, right? I mean, Ethereum is basically one massive money computer, if you wanna call it that. So I
sure.
mean, and I'm not saying that from a standpoint of greed. I'm saying it mostly from a standpoint of opportunity, where kind of a lot of our countrymen. I mean, here in the Philippines, but also all over the world, right? People are looking for new opportunities, and this is one of those spaces that allows for a lot of kind of very interesting entrants
Hmm.
because it's so young and it's still relatively accessible for beginners and rookies and stuff like that.
All right. And I totally agree with all the points that you've said. So how about this? Before we continue on with this discussion, how about we just take a short little break here? Uh, so yeah. So how about that?
Cool.
All right, we're back. So again, my name is Joseph Carey, also known as Sly. Today, we have our guest Luis Buenaventura, and we're talking about how to earn in NFTs. So let's continue on with the conversation that we just had earlier before the break. So yeah, so art major you started in, and I guess networked your way, and your NFT collection exploded. That's awesome, man. So let's continue on with the conversation. So, in your experience in the NFT space, now I know you work with several communities out there in regards to NFTs. What kind of feedback do you hear from the community, such as maybe, let's say, difficulties kind of getting in, maybe some marketing aspects, stuff like
Right.
that.
Yeah,
What kind of
yeah,
feedback?
yeah, yeah. Right. So the advice I always give to people if they want to become like an NFT artist, I mean, I guess there's lots of different ways to kind of enter the space, right? So I'll come at it from the NFT artist perspective first. So the advice I always give is that you need two things. The first is you need something unique about you. And that might be maybe your art style is really different, or there's something unique about your narrative. Maybe you're from kind of a marginalized community, or you have a talent that makes you particularly different as an artist. Uniqueness really matters in this world, so that's one. Then the other one is reach. So you need some way to find an audience, right? And typically with NFT art, it's usually via Twitter, and you have to spend some time building up that audience. So how do you do that? Typically, you try to participate in conversations with existing artists or existing players in the space, existing influencers in the space. Maybe build up your reputation slowly by, kind of helping others promote their work, not just talking about yourself so much, but kind of just lifting other people up. And typically, if you don't really have much reach yet, there's not really a lot you can do anyway to promote yourself because a lot of people aren't going to see your posts. So you might as well just lend your voice to others. So I think that always works, and it fosters a stronger sense of community too, because it'll force you to kind of, get to know the community of the kind of whatever it is that you're trying to enter. It doesn't always have to be art in this case, but in the case of the Philippines, the crypto art PH community is pretty tight knit because everyone always retweets everyone else and kind of tries to share their work and stuff like that. And that's how you find new superstars. The thing about this world is that there's so much talent out there that it just gets lost in the noise because there is so much noise, and like the amount of work to tweet about something stupid versus tweeting about something really great is the same. and because of that, there's just more stupid stuff out there.
All right, the
Like
even playing field thing, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and like so I don't like it, right? I mean, I am doing all that I can to kind of make other artists more visible, at least where I am right now, right? Because I mean the space has been very kind to me in the sense that like I've kind of unexpectedly become quite successful in it. So like what I'm trying to do is I'm using as much of my energy as I can to kind of get other artists more visibility as well and try to give them their shot. I mean, obviously, kind of what happened with curio cards, that is not something you can replicate because it's just like a series of very, very random occurrences. But I think that with you can still push others up, I think. And that's kind of the marketing side is what everyone struggles with because artists, the really good ones, they didn't get good at art by being good at talking to people. That's not the skill that they were kind of honing all that time, right? So they tend to be a little weak at that.
Hmm.
So if there's anything that I can do to kind of, you know, like set things up so that people will just find the work of these great artists, then like I feel like I've contributed something already to the community.
Right. So, in a way, we can safely say more like, when people start off with these sort of things, they kind of have to understand the difficulties going in. And what I'm
Right.
hearing right now is more of the community aspect, because maybe in your experience, but for me personally, I get people like, where do you go to the platform? They don't even talk about community first, and I think community is the first thing that they need to address. So by
Right.
finding that community, and I agree with you, by finding that right community that will at least uplift you somehow, or maybe market your work, and then you market someone else's, I think it's a win-win situation. But the key thing is really community.
Yeah, 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 for sure. People get really tripped up with the technology side of this
Hmm.
because kind of, blockchain is a little bit difficult or complex for people to kind of wrap their heads around. So they get really stuck on kind of, how do you learn the technology side of it? The thing is, the technology side of it, you can learn that in an afternoon. You just spend some time with someone who's done it before,
Hmm.
and they can teach you how to do it. It's not that hard, and it's way way easier to manage the tech stuff than it is to do the community building stuff because
No, I totally agree
that
on that
takes
point.
time. That takes a lot of time. Yep. Yep.
All right, awesome, man. So yeah, yeah, community. It's one of those things where community is highly involved, in which makes this whole NFT space like super amazing, super big. And I
Yep.
believe, if done correctly, not just by a community, but the individuals within that community, I think there's a way for people who have, let's say, the right artwork for I guess this community or that community to really kind of like just rise above and get noticed. Yeah.
Right. Right, right, right. And like the thing is, no matter how weird your art style is, the world is big. There is someone who's willing to buy that. You just need to find that person.
That is so true that you mentioned that, because I've seen some articles on NFTs selling for millions, billions of dollars on these platforms, and I'm looking at this, as a regular individual, I'm thinking, I don't see that. How is that
Yeah.
worth that much money?
Yeah.
But you're right. It takes
Yeah.
that one person who is willing to buy it.
Yep, exactly. It's all subjective. And that's the thing you have to remember about art. Its beauty is very, very subjective. You don't have to convince everyone. You need to convince one guy. That's all. That's all. Because it's like a single edition, right? You only have to convince one guy. You don't have to care about convincing the world that this is beautiful. It's just one guy. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So in regards to, let's say, in regards to cryptocurrency, so you've been in the cryptocurrency space for quite some time now. You've been in an NFT as well. One of the things that we discussed kind of like backstage is, you wrote a book. Is that correct? You wrote a book.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
I do have it right here.
Oh,
There
that's
you go.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
There we go. Yeah. So the little Bitcoin book, man. So can you
Mhm.
just tell us something about it?
Sure. Yeah, 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 yeah. So we wrote this 2 years ago. So a couple of my friends and I decided that we were gonna try to write a Bitcoin book that was non-technical. Like we basically wanted a weekend readable book that you could give to your dad to explain to him why the hell you're so into this Bitcoin thing. And right, because like my dad doesn't care about Byzantine fault tolerance and Nakamoto consensus and all of these things, right? That's not what he cares about. He cares about things like, is this going to make the monetary systems of the world better or worse? He cares about things like, is it going to prevent me from losing more money from inflation, from kind of bad government monetary policy, whatever, right? So those are the things he cares about. So we wrote this book uh, in chapters that were kind of like talking about these various kind of why Bitcoin even exists, what it was trying to solve, like how is it being used around the world, things like that, right? And then the back half of the book is all Q&A, like what are the some most common questions about Bitcoin? Is it bad for the environment? How is it hackable, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So the book itself is basically like a primer. It's not meant to be kind of the Bible for Bitcoin. It's only meant to be the thing that you read to get you started. And then we
Okay.
have lots and lots of references in the back to kind of more deep topics. If you're like the kind of person who's more technically inclined, then you can actually dive into the code with some of the other books that we recommend. But generally, it's meant for non-technical people, and because of that, it's been fairly popular. Like the book itself, the English version has sold, I don't know, tens of thousands of copies on Amazon.
Wow.
But we're in nine, I think it's nine, either 9 or 10 different languages now, and most of those languages were provided by volunteers. Like so, the translations were provided by volunteers. We have a couple of pirate versions also that I'm pretty proud of because like we can't sell books like this in China directly because
Oh, no, I
China is
understand now.
kind of very against this stuff. So there's a pirate edition of this that's in Mandarin, and it's just kind of floating around in the Chinese kind of WeChat and WeChat groups and things like that. That is supposed to be unofficial. But yeah, so like that kind of subversive information dissemination, I'm a big fan of that. That's pretty cool. So
So I gotta say this because in terms of when I got into the whole cryptocurrency space, unfortunately, I didn't have that same reaction from my parents when I told them I'm getting into Bitcoin. They thought I was supporting terrorism because of all the bad news back in the days. It's going against the
right,
financial system and things like that.
right,
So it's lucky that at least in your case, it was more like how will it support at least the financial sectors, maybe the world in terms of helping
yeah,
the people.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah, man. So you had that. You had that reaction. I wish I had that too. So in a way, your book kind of like you stated, it's kind of like a primer. It's like that first step into just getting into understanding. Well, in this case, Bitcoin is that correct? Just Bitcoin or just
Yeah,
blockchain
yeah, yeah, yeah.
technology?
Yeah, it was just Bitcoin, just Bitcoin. We wanted to be very, very focused with this one. And I mean, without being too disparaging of my co-authors, I mean, quite a few of them were Bitcoin maximalists.
No
So I don't
wonder.
think they were not gonna write the little Ethereum book. That was not gonna happen.
No, I think I think that's an awesome thing that you started off with Bitcoin, because when people say, when people hear cryptocurrencies and when they hear Bitcoin, it
Yeah.
resonates with them. Oh,
Yes.
blockchain, crypto. Versus if you
Yeah.
were say that like an altcoin, let's say ETH at that time,
Yeah. Yeah.
no one knows.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The it's not quite there yet, right? I mean, yeah, Bitcoin is basically the one that people will recall anyway. But yeah, and I would say that the kind of the function of Bitcoin is very different from the function of Ethereum. I mean, Bitcoin is very much about kind of a stable monetary policy. Whereas Ethereum is basically like let's build a million decentralized apps and figure out what works, right? And
Right.
that's very much an innovator's blockchain, very different from
No,
kind of the
agree.
focus of Bitcoin.
Totally agree
Yeah,
on that one.
yep, yep, yep,
Yeah, sounds like, yeah, because Bitcoin kind of set the precedence on the whole the issue of what currency should be, I guess, in the digital form. But yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. One last thing. Let's just tune it back in terms of the in terms of NFT gaming. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I kind of want to discuss with you in regards to the NFT, there's this thing called Axie Archipelago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, yep,
You
yep.
want?
Sure.
can you help the audience in terms of understanding what that was
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
what that
Well, I
is?
mean, we should do context first. Let's do
Yeah,
context
let's do
first. So
context.
what?
Let's do
Yeah, yeah,
context.
yeah. So okay, so earlier I was talking about how Ethereum is basically the innovator's blockchain, right? Because you'll build all sorts of different things on top of it. You can basically create all of these crazy new applications that we didn't think were possible. One of those applications is this game called Axie Infinity that has become very popular over the last couple of years. It's built out of Vietnam by a group of kind of old school, like OG crypto guys. It features these cute little blobs that battle each other, kind of like Pokemon, and it's become this phenomenon, right? Supposedly, about 1.6 million players play it daily, and 50% of that are Filipino. So that means that we can expect that about 8% of the Philippines plays this freaking game. And one of the ways we were trying to prove what that actually looks like is we created this website called Axie Archipelago, which we're looking at right here. What it is a map of all of the guilds that play Axie Infinity in the Philippines. And if you look at the map, so firstly, you can barely see the country anymore because there's so many icons on it, which
Yeah.
is great. I mean, it really drives home the point, right? And it's like end to end. It's Batanes all the way down to Tawi-Tawi, which means that we have beat Itbulaga in terms of coverage.
Wow.
So this is it's pretty hilarious how many guilds are on this. And here's the part that will really blow your mind. These guilds are the ones that reported their existence. So like no one was required to sign up and put their name here, right? We just put it out on social media. We said, hey, we're trying to build a map. If you are a guild manager and you want to have your guild listed here, just give us your details. We'll plug you in, right? These icons all mean different things, right? So we have little tiny ones, and that's only like tiny guilds, and then all the way to the plant icons, and that's like 1,000 members or more. So we've got all shapes and sizes here. And I'm pretty proud of kind of how the team was able to put this together. This is all volunteers kind of working on this for the last couple of weeks. And I think it looks pretty cool. And it's like, I can't wait to continue to add more stuff here
Right.
because, just more features, right? Because, firstly, I can tell you that there's a couple hundred other guilds that have already signed up on the survey form, and we just haven't managed to put their names in the map yet because we
That
have to
means it's a
kind of
long list.
verify each one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like 1,400 entries, something like that. It was
Whoa.
ridiculous. It was
And then
ridiculous.
and
Yeah.
you have to verify each one somehow, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're looking at least the social media links to make sure that, at least the page exists and things like that. It's very hard to kind of, like it's hard for me to verify how many people are actually in the guild. But so there's going to be some process later on. We need more volunteers for that. It's too hard to kind of do it for like the 800 guilds that are currently listed here. You'd have to interview every single manager, right? So that would take a lot of time and effort. We're not quite ready to do that yet. But what this is a pretty good starting point. And
No,
I
it
got a lot of
is.
great feedback. I got a lot of great feedback from Axie players, or sorry, interested Axie players. So people who didn't play Axie yet, but wanted to know if there were guilds in their area that they could kind of get in touch with, like maybe just to learn the game, maybe so they could apply for a scholarship, maybe they wanted to apply to be a manager or whatever, right? So now there is a map that will allow you to start, right? So if you live in Mindanao, there you go. You've got 30 choices. Then you can go to 30 different guilds in Mindanao, probably even more than that actually. So yeah, you've got your entire weekend cut out for you because now you have to contact each of those manually. But at least there's a place for you to go for information like that, and that was kind of what we were hoping to do. Yeah, so I at its peak when we had kind of we had hit our first like 500-600 guilds. I know that we were seeing like 200 visitors per hour, kind of going through the directory looking for
The
kind of
closest one
guilds
sort
to.
of thing.
Yeah, 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 and that's exactly what I wanted to do here. just show people how many guilds there already are. I mean, freaking Luzon is buried in it, right? I mean, look at
I can't
that.
even see the map anymore.
Like Metro Manila is basically nothing but Axie guilds.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
So in a way, it's sort of like you were kind of like a community driven when you kind of like started out this project, and it worked out really, and it really helps the community here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was. I partially did it for selfish reasons. It was because I was writing so much about Axie Infinity, especially Axie Infinity in the Philippine context, but I
Hmm.
couldn't find data about kind of like, how many guilds are there? Where are they? Things like that, right? So I was like, you know what? Nobody has bothered to compile this information. Let's give it a shot. I mean, I have a little bit of influence within the Axie community because I'm one of the mods in Axie Infinity's Philippine Facebook group. So, I was able to post there, hey guys, just, no pressure, but if you want to list your guild on this map project that we're working on, please do so. And yeah, we got a lot of great feedback. I mean, a lot of people find this stuff useful. Mostly because, like, there's no data anywhere else. This is the only place you can find it.
Would you say, like after the creation of this, and it's I see it is very successful. Did you notice maybe like a rise in certain guilds because people were looking for guilds in their area? Did was
Ah. Yeah, well, it's only been 2 weeks.
Oh,
So,
I thought this was for a while, man.
no,
My
no, no,
bad.
no, no, no. We launched it. God, I think it was like September 3. So yeah, just about exactly 2 weeks. We've only had this running for 2 weeks. So maybe that's the most impressive part, right? So we got from nothing, from concept to what you're looking at in under
Right.
2 weeks. Lots of people threw the time and energy to kind of trying to verify the guilds that had submitted their information. Yeah, so again, I mean, I'm super grateful that the community did find it useful because, I mean, I wasn't sure if anyone would, right? And like, so this is great. Like, so I don't know yet. I don't know yet if it's having any effect about on the kind of the activities of the guilds themselves. Although I do know that we've had a few guild managers tell me that they got like hundreds of new likes kind of the day after they submitted kind of their
Wow. So
profile here. So it is driving traffic to those pages, which is exactly what we wanted, right? We want to allow people to find these guilds more easily, and either get help from them or maybe support those guilds, right? I mean, there's guilds who are looking for investors, for example. There's guilds who are looking for managers. So yeah, so I'm hoping that the community will continue to find this useful.
yeah, because when I look at this, what dawned on me is more like when let's say you use like Google Maps to find something. I think that was the vision here, but for Axie Infinity specifically.
Right, exactly. Yeah, yep. So it's kind of hilarious how big it is, right? I mean, it's like when every time I look at it, I'm like, what the how did this happen?
I'm just
Yep.
glad that the community kind of like just they gave you they gave the information to your community in terms of, hey,
Mhm.
up to you, but if you want to list your
Yeah,
guild, hey, it happened, and look at all this
yeah,
information that just came about. And
yeah, yeah.
I like the fact that your goal really was just to help the community. And again, when we talk about NFTs, the underlying goal really is to uplift and provide that sense of community. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And like I said, I think that the more you do stuff for the community, the more of it comes back to you in the
Mhm.
future. Or maybe it already has come back to you, and now it's your turn to pay it, to like pay it forward or something, right?
Correct.
I think
Correct.
that's stuff like that is very important. Yeah. So like again, I'm just gonna get the volunteer team and we're just gonna continue to keep working on this, try to keep making it better. We're thinking about ways to kind of expand it beyond the Philippines. And
Hmm.
that'll be pretty wild. If you can show a global map of where all of the Axie guilds are, that could be pretty wild. Unfortunately, we are gonna need volunteers in a whole bunch of different countries where the languages are not languages that we can read.
Right.
So yeah. So how do you do the Chinese guilds? How do you do the Indian guilds? Latin America. Well, Latin America, we might be able to read it because it's in Spanish, but like I don't think like it's hard to read Mandarin or Hindi or even Swahili
Yeah,
because they're
I
starting to
think that
do Africa also. Yeah,
yeah,
so there
that
you go,
requires a
right?
ground team. I can agree to that. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. All right, that's awesome, man. So hey, so in terms of when it comes to you said you have your book that talks about the Bitcoin, which is the cryptocurrency, and we're also talking about NFTs. Now, the question I want to ask is, what do you feel is more easier for people to sort of adopt, the cryptocurrency aspect or more of the NFT aspect?
Okay, so this is a really tricky one because I've been wrestling with this one for about 7 years now. Like from the moment I really started this stuff, um, I think based on what we know, I think that based on what we know, the games are way easier for people to adopt because like they taught themselves how to use Ethereum and MetaMask and Ronin wallet and stuff like that because there was a game that they wanted to play because there was an income opportunity that was motivating them to do that. It's hard to kind of get that same energy from someone when you're trying to teach them Bitcoin because Bitcoin
Right.
doesn't give you a living wage month on
Right.
month.
Or
That's
nor
not how
nor
it works. Yeah.
nor the motivation aspect when you have to kind of self-learn. But in
Right.
a way, when it comes to a game, like I mean, I come from the world of like the original Nintendo Super NES. I taught myself how to figure it
Yeah.
out. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
NFT, the gaming aspect in terms of
Yeah.
cryptocurrency or NFT games. Yeah, I mean that would be, I think, the better. What would be safe to say that like the more better entry point to just getting into the whole, not just the NFT space, but pretty much the whole blockchain space. Would you say?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, we've got 800,000 Filipinos that have introduced themselves to blockchain inadvertently because of Axie Infinity. And these are not necessarily the kind of people who care about stuff like that, but now they kind of do because, they are earning money from it. It's legitimately generating value for them. And in order to do that, they have to learn a little bit about Ethereum. They have to learn a little bit about Ronin wallet and what seed phrases are, and maybe even what hardware devices are if they've got a lot of expensive axes and things like that. I mean, these are important things to learn, and I've struggled for years to teach people to do this stuff for Bitcoin, like this whole security hygiene thing.
Right.
It's very hard to teach, but these kids are learning it because they have to. They're motivated by this game, and yeah, I guess so. I guess maybe this is the entry point. Maybe this is the easier entry point. And like again, it's an innovator's blockchain. It's not. This is not the kind of thing that would have come out of Bitcoin because Bitcoin's not built this way. It's not meant for stuff like this. It's more meant for kind of stringent monetary policy that kind of you can't attack, you can't change. It's very very set, and that's good. It means that it's great for like storing value. But in the case of Axie Infinity, or well, in the case of Ethereum, I guess it's all about experimentation. And like, who
Right.
would have thought that we would have ended up with this as our most kind of popular means of teaching people what Ethereum was? Like, I would never have guessed that this was the path, right? I mean, that like it's
No,
not
that
that's
no,
not
I
what you expect.
totally agree. Totally agree. Because I've been in this space in terms of the whole education aspect. Yeah, you're right. You don't get the same energy when it comes to, teaching people the technical side versus if you show them the funner aspect, they're all into the funner aspect, NFT gaming.
Right,
All right.
right.
So now let's kind of like just kind of sort of just, when it comes to, NFTs again, what I want to ask is, how would you tell a person, like, they want to get into NFTs.
Okay,
What would you tell
sure.
them in terms of where should you start? Yeah, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I'd probably have to ask a whole bunch of different questions first because the thing about NFTs is that, so maybe this is a part where I do the whole definition thing because a lot of people think they understand what NFTs are, but maybe I'll just say it anyway. So forget about the N and the F. Just let's focus on the T, which just means token. So NFTs are just tokens. They are just symbols for something. What do they symbolize? What do they represent? They only represent a certificate of ownership in something, right? That's all it is. Now, why do we have NFT art? Well, because the token represents ownership in this particular piece of art. Why do we have NFT gaming? Because the token represents ownership in this one unique axie, which I actually have here. I have an axie
Oh, that's
right
cute,
here.
man.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
all
It's
right.
pretty cute. This is a pirated Axie plushie. They don't actually make an official one. So I got this for 500 pesos in Shopee. So anyway, that's it. I just
Wow.
had to put it on screen because like it was, I don't know, it's kind of cute. But yeah, so the idea with NFTs is that they're just tokens that symbolize an ownership in something. So when someone asks me like how do I get into NFTs, I have to ask a whole bunch of questions about what are they actually interested in. Are they interested in artwork? Are they interested in games? Are they interested in kind of other applications of NFTs that aren't as popular yet? You know, back when we were first thinking about how you could use NFTs, like everyone's minds were going to like these big things. Like you could use it for real estate. So when instead of buying land and getting a title from the government, you just have a token that represents your ownership in this land. That's not really what happened because it was too big an idea,
Hmm.
and there were too many regulatory and legal problems with that. But I think that what we found instead was you could do it with smaller things, right? So with art, and of course because it's crypto, that small thing, that small art thing became a much bigger thing. But you know that's the way crypto is. And then now we're trying to do it with gaming, and that seems like it's got even more potential than the art version because if you look at like just statistically globally, there's like only less than 1% of the world are artists, right? And that makes sense. I mean, how many of your friends are artists? Probably not all of them. It's
Right.
quite low. Like, yeah, 1% is kind of roughly where it is. But how many of your friends play mobile games?
A lot.
20%, 30%. Yeah, so the kind of the area of coverage, the impact, the footprint of NFT gaming is so much larger than NFT art. Um, and which is why I think that it's actually got a better chance, like in terms of potential, it's got a much bigger potential to be really, really game changing for the both the crypto scene and for kind of the world in general.
Hmm. No, I totally agree with that. Totally agree with you, man. Okay, so with that being said, how about this? We'll take a little short break, and then we'll get to the comments, some questions Q&A with the audience. How about that?
Awesome. Looking
All
forward to
right,
it.
let's take a little video break here. All right, and we're back. All right, so this is the portion of the show where we try to, engage with the audience in terms of, oh, Brandon B. Hey, hello everyone. Hey, Brandon, what's up, man? And the thing is, what we want to do is, uh, let's try to see the comments here. Maybe there's a couple of questions that we can probably try to answer with the community. All right, all right. Let me see. So Brandon B. All right, cool topic. All right, thank you, John James. Thank you for that. All right, what's up? Cool topic. Awesome. All right, Huggy World. Hello, everyone. Hi, Huggy. How's everything? Okay, let me see. Questions. All right. All right, here we go. Okay, there was a question in regards to where can you download Axie Infinity. So if you go to axieinfinity.com, you can just go to the website right here, or you can Google search it. Just type in axieinfinity.com. I believe it's going to be the first link on the Google search. Just click that, and it will take you to this page right here. You can start with Axie Infinity through this.
I should mention that downloading the game doesn't mean you can start playing the game immediately because you do need axes to play them, and so your biggest challenge is like, how do I buy axes, right? Right now they're a little bit on the expensive side. You have to go to the Axie marketplace. You have to know what type of axes to buy. There's many different types. They have many different abilities. So you do have to spend time kind of researching it. So it's a very community driven type of experience because typically downloading the game is not your first step, which is very different from every other game experience, right? With Axie Infinity, your first step is often research as much as you can first because you don't know like what axes to buy. Like this guy here, this aqua here is one of nine different types, and there's like different traits that they have, like different like whatever horns, fins, eyes, mouth, stuff like that, and each of those different things have effects within the game. So if you don't know what they are, then you won't know what to buy, right? So there is a lot of research that you have to do to begin, which is why kind of the Axie community is so strong. They really rely on each other to tell each other like, this is the right Axie for your particular kind of style, your strategy or whatever. And it also fits your budget, right? Because the pricing is also different. Some Axies are very rare, so you have to pay lots and lots of money for it. And some Axies are quite common. But generally speaking, no matter what happens, you're probably going to spend somewhere in the $1,000 range for to start in this game. So it's not cheap, right? So it's like $1,000 is a lot of money for a lot of people, and because of that, we've kind of organically also come up with this new thing called an Axie scholarship, where you're basically people who have a little bit more money will buy Axies on behalf of these players, and then they'll kind of lend them to the players, and then the players will earn money from playing the game, and then the investor and the player split that profit, right? So that scholarship idea is kind of something that organically came about because the Axies were getting pricier and pricier. And yeah, and it's become kind of the main way that people play the game now. They get scholarships, so they look for people who already have Axies, or they look for people who have the capital to lend to them, and then they play the game, and then they pay back the capital that was lent using the game income.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Yeah, because it's one of those things where there's kind of like a high learning curve, and yeah, you guys, when you get into NFT games, try to research it first in terms of what you're getting into.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one. Um, okay, here I got a he. Okay, yeah, I was just curious how one actually earns from selling NFT arts. I mean, why would you spend a hefty amount for an art when you can just download it? I've seen digital arts auctioned for millions, and I think it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, so this is a really good question, and it goes to the heart of why NFTs are important. So, okay, I'm not sure how to pronounce this person's name. I'm assuming it's a shortened version of something. But anyway, so here's how it goes, right? Let's say that you and I traveled to Paris tomorrow, and we went to the Louvre, the museum where the Mona Lisa is currently being exhibited, right? So we go there and we walk up to the Mona Lisa. We take our camera phones out, and then we take a picture of the Mona Lisa. Does that mean that we own the Mona Lisa now? Now that we have the Mona Lisa's photo in our phones? Obviously, the answer to that is no, right? But because what we have is a photo of the Mona Lisa. It is very obvious to both you and me that just because I have a photo of the Mona Lisa does not mean that I own the Mona Lisa. Now, that is exactly the same thing as what's going on with NFTs. Just because you took a screenshot or just because you downloaded the art that is being sold as an NFT doesn't mean you own it. Why does it not mean you own it? Well, because you don't have the token that says that you are the certificate of ownership that I was telling you about. That because you don't have that certificate of ownership, then it's nothing. It's just a screenshot. So it's effectively worth nothing, right? So the thing that is actually worth something here is the certificate of ownership that you are the person who possesses that particular piece of artwork, um, and you've got that NFT to prove it. That's what's important. Now, what can you actually do when you have that certificate of ownership? Well, the most important thing is that you can resell it to someone else, right? So if you, Sly, decided to make an investment in one of my curio cards, for example, firstly, thank you, but you would probably not let it go unless you could maybe double your money, right? So if you spent 10 ETH on something, you're probably not gonna sell that for less than 10 ETH, right? You're probably gonna wait until you
Right.
could sell it for maybe 15 ETH or 20 ETH or something. So because the buyers, the people who own the art, they don't want to sell it until the someone else comes along who's willing to pay more, the price goes up, right? Because eventually someone will buy it. Maybe Resistance Trader will buy it for 20 ETH. I don't know that he will, but let's just say he does, right? So now you've doubled your money, right? So that's the first thing. So now you've doubled your money. You've made a great investment. Now Resistance Trader has a 20 ETH purchase of one of my pieces, and now the value of my piece is now 20 ETH. So it's going up. If someone else comes along and buys it from him, maybe they'll pay 21 ETH. So it's not like it's not a massive improvement, but he still made 1 ETH from the trade. So now the value of the thing is 21, and it just keeps going up and up until no buyers come along anymore, or maybe the buyers are not interested anymore because it's too expensive. So the market discovers a new price. So maybe not 21 ETH. Maybe now it's gonna go down. Maybe the new guy says, you know what? I'm willing to let it go for 15 ETH because I just want my money back, or because I need the money right now, and I can't afford to wait. So those are the kind of market dynamics that cause the prices of NFT art to shift so dramatically. And if you look at kind of the curio cards prices, some of my stuff have gone up in value, and some of them have actually gone down in value. And it kind of keeps going up and down and up and down as the market kind of discovers what the appropriate price for these things are. So yeah, I mean, I don't find it ridiculous, but you have to kind of think about like what you are actually buying when you buy an NFT. And what you're buying there is the certificate of ownership in something. And that something is the official artist edition of this artwork. And that's why it's worth, well, not mine, but some are worth millions of dollars.
All right, awesome. All right, let's go to the next question. Yeah, so Aaron Martin, a lot of the NFT games are in the making. What is your foresight for the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, NFT gaming is where, okay, I'll answer this one other way. Axie Infinity is where Bitcoin was at in 2012. And what does that mean? In 2012, there was no other altcoins that mattered. Everything was just Bitcoin. Bitcoin was 99% of the market share, and it stayed that way for many years. It only started to kind of come down in 2016, where kind of it became like 90% and then 85%, 80%, etc. It started to go down even further. And now I think Bitcoin is only 40% of the entire market cap of cryptocurrencies because there's so many other cryptocurrencies out there now. The same thing is going to happen with Axie Infinity. At the moment, it accounts for 99% of all of the important NFT games. You may think that some games are important, but not really, because Axie Infinity is the only one that is actually pushing out real income, whereas the other NFT games are actually speculative bets. Because
good. That's a good point, by the way.
Yeah. They're not actually throwing off revenue yet. You're making bets in. Let me throw some examples. I don't know. My DeFi pet Alien Worlds, Crypto Blades. You're probably earning trickle amounts from it right now, but there's nowhere near the amount of economy, there's nowhere near the amount of community underneath those games yet. It's nowhere near Axie Infinity. Um, and one of the reasons why I know is because I am not motivated at all to do a Crypto Blades Archipelago map. Like, what the hell? I'm really like two guilds there, right? So I don't think any of these games matter yet. Now, that being said, what's going to look like 2 to 3 years from now? Well, it will probably look a lot more like Bitcoin versus the rest of the altcoin scene, where there's now, these contenders that are starting to look better and better compared to Bitcoin. And it will be like that with Axie. There will be other competitors that will start to look better compared to Axie. But that's 2 to 3 years from now. So when you're making bets, I don't know, like you have to kind of think about it that long, right? Is it worth it to hold my DeFi bet for 2 to 3 years? I don't know. That's up to you. But I don't think it's going to happen immediately because the thing that you have to remember is Axie Infinity has a really, really big head start. And they have had so much experience in figuring out their in-game economy. And that's what the other games don't have yet. Axie Infinity did not get it perfect, right? They're still struggling and they're still trying to refine it. The new games are going to have all of those same problems with slightly different mechanics, and they're going to have to find their own way also. So they're going to have to go through these ups and downs for years. So that's it. That's what you need to kind of bear in mind there. It's not going to be immediate. Oh, okay.
Okay.
So yeah, so this question is kind of the same, right? I mean, what's the
Yeah.
next big giant game? I don't know. And like that's my most honest answer. I've looked at a few of them. They look fine. Nothing seems to come close
Right.
to Axie Infinity. And I'm not even calling Axie Infinity the best game ever, right? I mean, I enjoy playing it, but it's fine. It's okay. It's not Valorant. It's certainly not Doom. It's not, kind of like it's not a AAA game. It's not Mobile Legends. But it's fun. It's got good strategy. The metagame is deep, and most importantly, the economy works because people are actually making income from it. And it's not easy to replicate the success of Axie Infinity. So yeah, I'm not a big better. Like when it comes to kind of making speculative bets on future outcomes, I don't spend a lot of time doing stuff like that. I actually am. I'm better at just like just picking a couple of strong coins or strong cryptos and just holding that. I don't like doing these I don't like hunting around for kind of like these low cap coins and waiting for 100x return. I was like, oh god, this is just too much work. I can't do it. I just don't have time. I don't have time, and it's stressful, right? I mean, you probably know this. It's very stressful because you have to keep looking at your damn block folio or
Right.
whatever.
The charts. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a separate discussion. But I understand what you mean.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next
Yep.
one.
Yep.
All right. So the Resistance Trader. Are there any other play to earn games were successful as Axie Infinity? And what games? None. So Axie Infinity.
Nothing yet. Axie Infinity is so far ahead of everyone that's the only one that's worth talking about at this stage. However, if you like other games, then look for the one that is closest to the style that you like. I know that a lot of players right now, not a lot of players, but like some NFT gamers, they are looking at games like Star Atlas, for example, because that's like a spacefaring game. That's like a
Yeah.
little bit like Eve Online. So Eve Online is a decade-old game that where you fly spaceships and stuff like that. Very interesting, a very deep game. And Star Atlas looks like it's going to be like that. But the thing about that you have to remember with Star Atlas is that their game is not going to be ready for another year and a half.
Right.
So you're betting well into the future with that one. Yeah, I don't know. It depends on you.
I would like to add a little bit more to the idea of are there games as successful as Axie Infinity? Yes, I agree. Axie Infinity is by far the most successful, but in regards to other successes or how it can be defined depends on the player. Because
Mm-hmm.
although one would say Axie Infinity is a successful game, me personally, I have my own little NFT little game room called the Sandbox where I can make
Mm-hmm.
voxel arts and play with it. Everyone's seen my posts, but
Yeah.
yeah. So awesome, man.
So it's that's more like Minecraft, right? I
Yeah, yeah,
guess like
yeah.
is that the closest analogy? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
closest.
Minecraft is for sure, kind of a very beloved kind of game. I guess when we say play to earn, or maybe the question was play to earn, right? So
Right.
I'm actually not familiar with kind of the play to earn aspects of Sandbox. I know that it's a blockchain game, but I don't know if there's a play to earn
It's
angle.
actually there is a play to earn. Sorry, not the way Axie does it. What it basically is, instead you kind of create not artwork but like assets, where you can import it into a virtual land, and then
Yep.
if people like the asset that you created, and they give you really awesome tools to build these, voxel
Mm-hmm.
art, assets, and people like it, you can sell it within the Sandbox ecosystem. So
Ah, I see.
it's
So it's
just
like
really not.
art.
Yeah, it's art.
That's like art. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Cool. I like that. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Thank you for your comprehensive answer earlier. Do you have any idea how to succeed in NFTs, especially as an artist selling NFT arts?
You have to get very lucky. I'm sorry.
Straight
I don't
answer.
know.
Awesome.
Yeah. No. No. So God, I have to be more take this more seriously. Um. I. I think there's a couple of different. I think I answered this a little bit a few minutes ago. I was saying that you need two things. You need something unique about you as an artist, and then you need reach. And the uniqueness that's internal, right? You have to work on that. Like, what is it about me or my art style that makes me different from everyone else? So that's the first thing. If you can answer that, then you've got half of it figured out. The next thing is external reach. How do you find your audience? And that's a function of you spending time getting to know the community, getting to know the art collectors, the marketplaces, and the other artists who are kind of on the same journey as you. So if you combine those two things, then that's the thing that will make you successful. Unfortunately, there's no specific recipe for that. That's just a very kind of broad way to say it. But I think those are the two things that matter the most.
And yeah, I can totally agree with that one. Because a lot of people kind of think that they're always going solo, but really it's community based. Let's go to the next question. I hope you will notice this comment. I'm managing Pampanga Axie Cartel, and we would like to register with BIR. Can I ask for advice and insights?
Um, why? why are you? Why would you like to register with a BIR? So okay, okay, I have to be very careful with the way I answer this
Yes.
question because this is so firstly, I'm not a lawyer, right? I'm not a lawyer, and all I can tell you is what I know about taxation. So the most important thing is that generally speaking, if you are earning money in the Philippines, you probably have to file your taxes. Sometimes when you file your taxes, it turns out that you actually owe the government 0 pesos. Why is that? If you earn less than 250,000 pesos per year, you are under the threshold for taxable income. So if you're only earning something like 20,000 pesos per month, that's 240,000 pesos per year, you actually owe the government 0. So that's fine. But you still have to file. You still have to have a
Right.
tax identification number or your TIN. That's just kind of, being a responsible citizen. Now, with Papanga Axie Cartel, by the way, that's not a great name if you're trying to. like,
The word cartel
typically,
kind of gives it away.
yeah, the cartel part kind of. Anyway, whatever. It's fine. I mean, hopefully they will think that you're just being, humorous.
Right.
Um, the I'm not sure exactly why you want to register with the BIR. Is it because you want to report your guild's income? If that's the case, then huh. Then if that's the case, then my advice is you should really look for a lawyer because I am not the person to give you advice on this. I think sorry, I just have to be really careful here because I don't want to say something that will actually put people on the wrong path. I think the most responsible thing for me to say right now is that you should look for a tax lawyer or just a lawyer in general that is kind of specializing in stuff like this and hopefully understands how crypto works. There's not that many lawyers in the country who do that, but that's the safest way. You should not be taking it from someone who, like me, who is not a lawyer, because you might get bad advice, and I don't want you to get into trouble for that. That's it. Sorry about that.
So, guys, when it comes to taxes, get a lawyer. Okay.
Yes, it's probably
The,
better. Yeah.
those of you who are outside of the Philippines, basically the discussion is BIR. In if you're in the U.S., it's the equivalent of BIR is the IRS. So we're talking about income brackets, and taxes. So that's what we were discussing. All right, let's go to the next question. Is it possible to regulate the crypto ATMs globally? Is there a company where to buy or franchise a crypto
Oh,
ATM?
there's lots. I mean, for ATMs, yeah, there's lots of companies where you can buy and franchise it. But here in the Philippines, it is a very tricky thing to import an ATM because the way that the central bank looks at that is they treat it as if it's a bank branch. So the amount of paperwork that you have to generate to kind of bring in an ATM is ridiculous. It's probably not worth the trouble, in my opinion. Now, is it possible to regulate them globally? That's not how regulations work. Regulations are always country by country, and in the States, it's actually state by state. So it's not even in the United States, it's not something that is kind of the same all over. No, here in the Philippines, it's a single regulatory body. It's the Bangko Sentral, the Central Bank of the Philippines. But unfortunately, kind of the reason why there's only, as far as I know, three Bitcoin ATMs active in the entire country is because it's so hard to get them in. There's so much paperwork or bureaucracy to do it. So I've never been a big believer in the ATM business, just generally speaking, at least not here in the Philippines. I think that it's way better to just go peer to peer and then use Gcash, Paymaya, whatever. Just do that. Use a peer-to-peer marketplace like Paxful, Local Bitcoins, Binance P2P. There's so many places that you could very safely trade crypto with other Filipinos in exchange for Gcash or a bank transfer or something like that. And it's safer than using a Bitcoin ATM because Bitcoin ATMs are. I mean, I don't mean to say that they're dangerous, but if you're walking away from a Bitcoin ATM, there's a very good chance that you've got a lot of money on you, right? So you become a target for bad people sometimes. So I would rather just do it online so that I don't have to leave my house. It just seems safer. That's all.
Actually,
That's my personal opinion.
that's actually a good point. Since a lot of the things that we do now is we can do it on our mobile, so there's no even. I don't even think there could be a legit reason now to even want to go to a Bitcoin ATM.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know either, to be honest. I guess because some Bitcoin ATMs don't require ID.
that could
So
be
I
one.
guess that's the easiest way for you to trade Bitcoin without, kind of KYC or identity verification or stuff like that. I guess. I think that might be one reason. This is an interesting question. Huh.
All right, so Ryan J. Santos, I'm intrigued. I am intrigued why Axie Infinity seems to be non-existent in Vietnam, where Sky Mavis headquarters is. Why so?
I I didn't think it was non-existent. It's interesting. I'm not sure. It's interesting that this is kind of how the question was phrased because I didn't think it was non-existent. I thought that it was just not as big as the Philippines. And I thought that it was because the Vietnamese population doesn't speak English to the extent that the Filipino population does. Um,
I,
so
I might kind of can add to this. I think from some
sure.
research I did beforehand, I think the Vietnamese government kind of like banned the whole Bitcoin thing, but there's a specific type of cryptocurrency that they will allow. So
Oh, that's
maybe
interesting.
maybe
Okay.
maybe maybe that has something to do with it. So I
Yeah,
don't even
yeah.
have
So
the right answer.
Vietnam, yeah. In terms of cryptocurrency, Vietnam is not a very friendly country, just in general. Yeah, so it's quite hard they're one of the few countries left in Southeast Asia that still has no regulatory framework for cryptocurrency exchange. So yeah, maybe it's that actually, but like, sorry, I don't know much about this. All I know is that Sky Mavis is definitely headquartered there. Although none of the Sky Mavis, well, not none, most of the Sky Mavis founders are expats. Um, so yeah, but I believe most of the team is Vietnamese. But yeah, I wouldn't know why you're saying it's non-existent. Yeah, perhaps it's just because the government itself doesn't allow it. That's interesting though.
Hmm.
I should look into that one.
All right, awesome. All right. All right, John James, cool topic. Kudos, like, yeah, awesome. Thanks for the comment, man. Appreciate it. Proud to be here, Amanda Bancales. All right, awesome. Thank you for watching the stream. And guys out there, thank you for watching the stream as well. Let me see. All right. All right. So with that being said, yeah, real people are earning real money via NFTs. That's correct. In terms of either NFT games or maybe arts, being sold on several like different platforms. Uh, yeah, you share, you give back to the community, and it comes back at you. Thank you for that comment, Robin. Very good. All right. So with that being said, man, thank you so much for being on the show tonight, man. We got a lot of we got a lot of views right now. Got a lot of comments. It's very engaging, dude. Me
Thank
personally,
you.
I'm learning a lot from you.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, this is fun. I hope people found it informative. And I hope that the things that you take away from it are kind of, those things that I was saying earlier, keep your mind open, keep experimenting. The whole world is changing underneath us, and we need to learn as fast as we can.
All right.
And yeah, just keep learning, keep learning.
And that's kind of the thing about blockchain, man. You're continuously always learning, especially no matter what space you're in within blockchain. You're always constantly learning. But with that being said, Luis Buenaventura, thank you so much for being our featured guest tonight. Again, my name is Joseph Carey, aka Sly. Thank you so much for being with us here on the show. And that's it. And we'll see you on the next one. All right, guys, take care.